Hello, everybody. Today I'm making a video that I should have made a couple of days ago, but unfortunately I was very busy, and then I was also out of town, and I was also wanting to make sure I took the time to give the proper care to the importance of this video. So, as the title suggests, this is a celebration and tribute to the life of a man who was, even though a recent inspiration in my life, with only the last 5 years, still a big one. So even though I'm a small channel, I wouldn't say I'm less than small. I'm basically unknown. Even though I'm an unknown channel at this point, I still think it's important that someone who had such an impact on my life have something that I say something on the behalf, because there's a lot of people who are sharing theirs, not trying to tag in on all that and get any sort of viewership or anything like that. But just if you also um, really felt the inspiration and motivation from Paul Harrell, and you just want to kind of see what everyone's take was on him, this is just another one for you guys to watch. That aside, as the title says, this is a tribute to Paul Harrell. GunTuber recently passed away due to complications of pancreatic cancer. He'd been diagnosed with it, I believe, December last year, and maybe a little bit later. I know his brother Roy had been introduced to kind of be the successor of the channel, and Paul had been guiding him. Roy has been doing a relatively good job considering the circumstances. They're very different personalities, but you can tell that Roy is absolutely doing his best, and I give him absolute credit, and to the rest of his team as well, who are obviously dealing with such a powerful, devastating blow, but still doing their best to continue onward. Sorry, it's hard not to get emotional. Um, so let's go back a little bit. I was in the U.S. Navy from 2015 to 2018. I didn't do anything special. Didn't go overseas. I was just a Quad Zero hospital corpsman. I did get attached with 224 Weapons Company, a Marine unit. I was slated to be an FMF Marine, and I put in a packet to go to C school to be not just FMF, but to go to SARC, Special Amphibious Recon Corpsman. And due to some issues that had happened, and an injury and some big Navy BS, I basically got forced out and was removed from the Navy relatively quickly. I'm expecting to do a whole 6-year contract at the least, and then all of a sudden, 2.5 years in, they're just like, get the fuck out. So that was devastating for me, and it took me quite a long time to kind of heal and get over that. And I'm going to get to that in a minute, but I have a couple of different tangents we need to go on before we can really give the credit to Paul for what he's done for my life. Fast forward a couple of years. During the pandemic, I got married. Literally balls deep into it. It was 2020, July 31st when we got married, and I was moving out of state. A couple of years prior, maybe about 2019, I had watched a Paul Harrell video or two. And like most people on YouTube, we don't immediately subscribe, right? Even though we see something that we think is awesome, really resonates with us, we just fucking wait on it, which is, human nature. We got to change that. I saw a couple of his videos. When I got out of the Navy, I was doing some recreational shooting because that's really what I enjoyed. And I was a pretty good shot with a pistol. I wasn't trained on a rifle. I shot ARs and everything, but I never used an M4. So handguns were really kind of my favorite. So I was looking at some of his recommendations and things like that. But when I got married and I moved out of state, I felt a need to get a firearm, because the world was kind of falling apart. And now that I'm married, I'm not just protecting my life. I don't care. I'd fucking go fisticuffs with whoever the fuck wants to. But with my wife, now my ex-wife, but at the time, as a man, I should be a protector as well as a provider. And I wanted something to be accessible for her for when I was working night shift at a hospital, balls deep during the pandemic, where I'm working 4, sometimes 5, 12-hour shifts in a row. So Paul's videos really helped me kind of bridge a gap of what firearm that I should get. And I actually didn't get a handgun initially. I got a shotgun. And you're probably like, well, wait, if it's for your wife, why would you get a shotgun? Well, I got a 20 gauge, which joke was on me because fucking it's hard as shit to find 20 gauge ammo, right? But what he had gone through and what he had described, and the fact that 20 gauge doesn't really lose a lot of power and velocity, it still does a significant amount of damage, but it just has a little less recoil. I felt was a good choice for both of us, and I thank Paul for that because a lot of gun tubers, through good intention and bad intention, kind of steer you to a specific mindset. And with Paul, it seemed like he was very factual, very informative, and just trying to do his best to make you understand the limitations, the pros, the cons, everything with whatever firearm you may end up with or you may be seeking out. So that was a big thing. And it was around that time period that I subscribed and started watching his videos avidly. I did go back and rewatch some of his videos. So to fast forward a little bit, in 2021, late 2021, going into 2022, I decided I wanted to get a handgun. And from my prior experience, I prefer double action, single action pistols with decockers. A lot of those firearms are kind of out of my price range. I didn't want to pay $700 for a fucking Beretta. But I also really enjoyed revolvers. I've been shooting revolvers for a few years longer than when I was in the Navy and, started with the Beretta. So I ended up trying out some pistols with a friend, and you're all going to fucking hate me for this. And those who are Paul Harrell fans will absolutely hate me for this. I ended up getting a Judge as my first handgun. This is clear and safe. The reason I got a Judge is because I lived on the mountains of Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's where I'd moved with my wife. And there was a lot of game. There was a lot of animals. So at nighttime, there was a lot of animals kind of foraging, and we had been in the process of fostering some dogs. So my wife was frequently walking dogs at like 8, 9 o'clock at night while there's some pumas, there were some bears, and there were even some moose in the area. So what I was thinking was I get a Judge so it could be loaded with different types of ammo for different types of circumstances. The handful of times I would take it with me going into Albuquerque, if you guys know anything through Breaking Bad, it's basically a crack haven. And having worked in multiple hospitals in New Mexico, I could basically say that stopping power is critical when someone is on drugs. I've seen bullet wounds from lower calibers, and I've seen what a high caliber can do, and I could definitely see, not through firsthand experience having been the culprit who had put those wounds on them, but on the receiving end of just how much more damage the body had withstood from those low calibers versus how much it could have from those higher calibers. And I frequently talk with police in the area because they're always having to be down at emergency departments for all the shit going on anyway. So it led me to the conclusion that I definitely wanted something that was of high caliber. And I actually used to pocket carry this fucking thing all the time. I still do from time to time. I just recently bought a 357, which I'm going to get to that in a second. But this fucking thing, man, trying to pocket carry this, and obviously I had to throw the other grip on because my hands are just too fucking big. It was a fucking chore, but I never felt outgunned, and I never felt like I was in an inappropriate situation. And what's funny is that Paul Harrell has said several times he does not care for this firearm. He doesn't think it does a good job of anything that it tries to do. And not that I ever truly think that my YouTube channel will get that big, but I had sincerely hoped that if my channel did get big, I could present this to Paul and do my damnedest to change his mind on it. Doesn't seem like it's going to happen. So, as some of you may know from my other videos, I currently run a nonprofit for veterans in Illinois, where I had moved back from. I went from New Mexico back to here in 2020, late 2022 into 2023. This has given me a huge sense of purpose that I've never had, and I interact with veterans all the time. It's really wonderful and beneficial to see all these different life stories, all these different experiences from all these different eras of service. And I've always felt like the little guy because I didn't serve for a long period of time. I didn't really contribute anything when I was serving. And I was very frustrated with my injury and my bad paperwork that ended up forcing me out of the Navy. But what I always respected and loved about my veterans is the openness. And Paul was such a great exemplification of it. You know, he never seemed condescending. He never seemed like he knew too much. The only time, and when I finally subscribed to him, this was around the time. The only time I ever saw him in a way where he felt he had to defend his viewpoints with all of the claims that he'd made was when he made the rebuttal video that was an hour fucking long to literally show all of the medals he had from his marksmanship, all of the competitive stuff he did both in service and out of service. And it just, it clicked with me, man, that a man like that, you know, he was a Marine. And if I don't want to speak too much out of turn because I may be wrong. I think he said he was also a reservist, and I think he might have been in the Army when he was in the reserve. If I'm wrong on that, please correct me. I don't want to get that mistaken, but I do know that he was a Marine for sure. So obviously, I imagine that's where he got a lot of his start with marksmanship and pursued it onward. And when Paul had passed away, I had wrote on my nonprofit's social media page that even though he's not a participant of our nonprofit, he is still a paragon to veterans, especially to me. And what I'd seen was that Marine level of diligence and motivation in all of his videos. And it reminded me of the Marines that I served with in 224 Weapons Company. It reminds me of the Marines that I interact with daily for my nonprofit. I didn't know this until after I started serving with Marines, that their values are the same as the Navy's, which is honor, courage, and commitment. And how I described it in my social media page, sorry, it's heavy, is that he had such an honor of the skills that he had, both from before service and then when he was in service. He had the courage to share this wealth of information to the masses, and he had the commitment to do it in such a neutral level that he could educate everyone regardless of race, religion, belief, sex, gender, any of that stuff. He just got the information out there, and he still provided entertainment besides education. And it just really, really spoke to me. And going back to 2020, when I started watching his channel, becoming an avid follower, those values I kept seeing reinforced. And then after taking over my nonprofit, it really solidified in me the fact that his dedication to those values, even after service, is a huge inspiration to myself. And I hope that I follow those with both my nonprofit and in my personal life. So I just want to say my deepest condolences to the family. But I also want to say, because I'm not a religious person, and if I remember correctly, Roy had said at the tail end of Paul's I'm Dead video, which is very, very memey, that, of course, that's what Paul would do. That they don't really want any religious or political things into this. So I had posted this on the second to last video where Roy had given us an update that Paul's time was now drawing very short. There is a measurable amount of impact that Paul had left on this earth. And it exceeds most other humans. 1 million subscribers on his channel alone, well over at this point. Millions of viewers. Millions more from the other channels that had started because of his influence, who had worked with him, who had felt motivated and inspired to take up firearm training, firearm education. I said this. I would be so comforted knowing that that was the legacy I was leaving in my final hours. So I hope Paul could take comfort in that in his. So the last thing I want to say is I was actually coming home from the gun range when he posted that video, his final video. And I'm not even joking. I guess I have evidence. I literally shot the best I ever did. And the reason I went to the range is because I had recently gotten a new carry gun, a 357 Magnum. So obviously I had to test it out. And it was the best I ever shot with this motherfucker, which is the ultimate irony, right? He fucking hates judges, and here I am fucking just cleaning house with a judge. But also, I shot pretty well with that. It was a Taurus 605 that I ended up buying. And yeah, I know you guys can complain about Taurus and everything like that. I'll make another video why justifying it. That's not what this is about. But the point is, I felt pretty comfortable with the firearm, and of course, I come home. It was like half hour after that I saw the video, and I'm like, of course, the day that I shoot my absolute best is the day Paul Harrell passed. And that just shows his influence and his legacy had motivated me, and I hope it continues to motivate others and inspire us all today and forever onward. So thank you for sitting through this. I'm obviously not a professional, but hopefully in time I can strive to get close to Paul's legacy. Thank you very much. I'll be seeing you.